Hello everybody, uh, welcome to my session, one of the 10th session most probably, and I am Joydeep Dasgupta. I'll be taking you through this course, and I understand that today there is no live attendees right now, at least. I don't know after some time somebody will enter or not. Therefore, I would start with view towards people who would be those students who would be entering at a later stage through the website of the institute. Well, I am Joydeep Dasgupta, and this is a course I am running, the part one of the thing, the foundation course of CAT, and I have already taken 9 lectures. So therefore, these are available in the YouTube, in the website. This should be available as this conceptually. That is what I was talked about. I was told, and therefore, before the course, usually what I do in the usual way is that I talk about. Sorry, there is a trouble outside. Well, I talk about the online course, and this is the trouble, because what you find is that the teacher gets dejected when there is no student at the end of the talk. So I would be talking for 2 hours, and I don't know whether there would be people out there or not, where there would be takers or not. And there are technological glitches which has washed away one of my classes in the previous day. And I would tell the students, I always tell the students that be patient about that. But later on, if you are viewing this in the YouTube channel or otherwise, then the situation would not be that, because there would be some editing done. And regularity is an important issue, because I am to take 20 lectures. And therefore, it's not like a thing which you see for 10 minutes and forget about it. It's not like that. You have to listen to these courses one by one. Otherwise, you'd lose the continuity of the whole course. Therefore, regularity is an important issue. And what happens is, no, for example, today I was to do with you depreciation. And but previous day there were some questions asked by the students, and therefore, sorry, and therefore I would be talking about the reconciliation, the last part of it, and then I would also talk about the receivable reconciliation or payable reconciliation, and then only I can go on to depreciation. And naturally, depreciation would have to be carried on. I feel like that, because what I feel is that I generally prepare 41, 42 slides, but generally it ends at around 35. So naturally, I have to carry over these issues to the next day. So on Friday, I would take up another important issue regarding, because I said there are 3 ways of doing things, and we talked about the usual way the student learns is journal, ledger, and trial balance. So that was the usual way the students learn. And then there is also the subsidiary books. So you start with the transaction and then you go to the subsidiary books. So that is why and how we talked about subsidiary books, about day books, about cash book, about petty cash book. So you will find those issues in one of my previous lectures. And regarding the questions of the students, I don't know, things would be different, because there would be questions coming later, because if you are seeing this in the YouTube channel at a later time, then this whole juncture is different. Actually, it was started like that there would be a lot of, because this is online throughout India, it's happening, therefore would be a number of online students available. Okay, forget about it. And all my PPTs are available in this Google Classroom. So you just download the Google Classroom in your Android phones and or iOS, as the case may be, and just join with the code 2YBUSPT. I have already taken one assignment comprising of 20 questions. Uh, there were some students who answered that, but this is still available. I have not stopped accepting responses, so you can just go on. So that was one assignment, but still, since I found out there were lack of enthusiasm among the students, so I didn't come up with the assignment. So maybe I'll come up with the assignment after today's class. Regarding MCQs, the whole course is based on MCQs, and naturally you have to prepare in that fashion. Since it is MCQ, it is because what we do is as a students is that we go to the teacher or private teacher or this college or the school, and we just open our books and divide the page into debit and credit, and we start doing some entries in the debit side and some entries in the credit side. So accounting is actually not that. Accounting is a subject which has a theoretical underpinning, and that is what we have been trying to talk about. So naturally speaking, I would go by the issues of the SCAT course, and we'll be talking about the intricacies and the nuances of the subject. This is a course which you have. There are 6 issues, and I have already talked about the process of accounting, which basically covers 9 issues, including rectification of errors. So that was a huge topic to be covered. I find that its process 1 is the real pillar, maybe 2 pillars of the 4 pillars of this course. We have already covered them, and you can find them in the PPTs. Reconciliation statement we did, and there were some issues which were raised by the students and which I would like to clarify today, but I don't know whether anybody of you who were there in the previous day have really entered the classroom or not. I'm not very sure, but still I will go in my fashion, and then we take over accounting for depreciation. So there would be some talk on the reconciliation statement which was covered the previous day, and 2 of the issues were not covered for that matter. The payable reconciliation, the receivable reconciliation, and then we will go to accounting for depreciation. This was a sum we took the previous day, and there was a question how to identify. It was a sum on amendment of cash book. So it was cash book amendment before you prepare your BRS. So before you prepare your bank reconciliation statement, I'm not going to go details into it because you can find that in the previous day lecture. And so this was a question raised how to identify the items which will be going into the cash book and which will remain to be taken to the BRS. Well, you have to understand this, that you have a cash book. So first of all, in cash book amendment and BRS, you have to move from cash book towards passbook. So you move from cash book towards passbook. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is that you have to identify which will go to the cash book and which will remain. Now the simple rule is this, which were not recorded in the cash book. Issues which were not recorded in the cash book. As an example, take point number C. Bank charges debited by bank. So as I said, bank charges debited means they have reduced the bank. We were not identified, we didn't intimate us, or that matter, they sent us an SMS, but we didn't enter it in the cash book. So we could enter it in the cash book. So it is actually item number 1, items which were not at all recorded in the cash book. So this is point number C, D are items which were not entered in the cash book. So, so there are items which were we forgot to enter it. We just mistook. We didn't. So there is an option for us to enter it in the cash book. So these are items which we do. So we enter them in the cash book. And item number 1. And item number 2 is any error made by while writing the cash book. So while writing the cash book, if there's an error, for example, item number C, checks has been dishonored by the bank. They have told us that we have dishonored the check. So naturally, conceptually speaking, we should have credited the cash book. We should have reduced the cash book because this person who was to pay us has dishonored his commitment. and therefore the passbook has reduced, but we couldn't do it. We didn't do it. We made an error. So basically, item number E is an error. So conceptually speaking, these two, forget about these two issues, and all other will go to the cash PRS, bank reconciliation certificate. So A and B remains. Look, checks issued 2,400. So you have issued them. So you have reduced your cash book. Rightly done. Checks, you have paid check to somebody else, but that person to whom you have paid the check isn't gone to the bank to get it encashed. So these are unencashed check or unpresented check, you call them. So this is not an error. You have done rightly. You have reduced your cash book, rightly done. And this is neither, you could again take it to the cash book. So item number 1 is like that. Item number 2 is also like that. Checks deposited. So you have received the check, you have deposited, you have enhanced the cash book, you have debited the cash book, but it is not taken to the passbook. So naturally, it is not cleared. So you have put it in the clearance box, but it has not cleared. So these two items will go to the BRS. So what we do is that we prepare the cash book, amended cash book. So this is forget about the what is written upstairs. So basically speaking, this is the amended cash book. So look, we started with the overdraft of 5,000. So we start with the overdraft of 5,000. So it will come to the credit side, overdraft of 5,000, and then we take these 4 entries by collection charges, by interest, and we calculate the amended cash balance. So is the amended cash balance, which is also an overdraft. So 5,400 is an overdraft because it is given. You start with an overdraft and it comes to a credit balance, because as I said, remember the CD. What does the CD make you understand? CD make you understand is that there is a shortfall in the debit side. So that means your credit side is heavier. If you look at this ledger head and try to understand, if you try to understand one of my previous days class where I said that how you balance, what is the meaning of CD and BD? It's a very important concept which is many times erred by the students. These shows that the total of the two sides is 5,800, but the credit side is heavier than the debit side by 5,400. So what you do is that you put 5,400 on the debit side to make it tally it up. So CD जिस side में आएगा, BD brought down उसके different side में आएगा, and that is the debit balance, credit balance. So you, whether it's a debit balance or credit balance, really depends on the brought down factor. So what is a balance brought down in this case? It would be on the credit side, because it goes to the opposite side, as you know. So 5,400 is the overdraft balance, which is coming in the credit side, because it is the credit side is heavier. Now this is look at the right side thing, because this was a question which I did in the morning, thinking that the student who asked this question would be there. I'm not very sure whether you are here or not, but conceptually speaking, bank OD as per cash book. So this is the right side thing, and as you know, in the previous lecture I said that the Gravel, the Shukla Gravel का जो पुराना book है, वो this is the method they follow. This is the same thing. You achieve at the same 4,200 is a debit, is a overdraft you achieve. But what we do is that we just put that 5,400 on the minus side, because it's overhead items, and do not. And whatever I told about regarding how to take plus item and minus item, that remains. Basically remains. So basically what we do is that we just take the overdraft on the different side. So checks issued, you have issued checks. That means the cash book has gone down, but the cash book remains upstairs, up. So what you do is that you add it. So that look, 2,400 is added. But what they do, they make a opposite thing. Since it's an overdraft, they do it in the opposite way. Checks deposited. So somebody has put in our checks, and our cash book has increased. So what we'll do, we'll decrease the cash book. So forget about the overdraft. We just proceed in the usual way we do it. Why I prefer this system? Because I don't have to tell the students new things that you. So the way I have taught regarding what to do with the entry, that remains the same, and this 4200 is come. So the same thing which is done in various books, including your study material, and what was taught by the Sukla Grivalka book long back, both are same basically. Well, before moving over to the next slide, the receivable reconciliation, I'll just go back and check out whether that student who was there the previous day is come. No, he isn't come. Okay, fine. I'll go because this is recorded, and therefore I will go. I will go in that fashion. So basically speaking. You are not connected. What? I'm connected. I'm connected. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know much about it. Let me. Sorry. Very sorry. Okay, fine. Let me go on doing this. Just wait a minute because I don't know whether I'm because I don't have anybody to. So I'll just talk with the administrator and see whether I am just being able to communicate with you or not. Let me check out with the administrator and then I will proceed. Just give me a few minutes. Just give me a few minutes. हेलो अच्छा हम तो क्लास ले रहे हैं कोई प्रॉब्लम है कि कोई भी नहीं आया जीरो अटेंडेंस है आप एक बार चेक करके देखिए whether I am going live or not. I don't mind if the students are not there or not unless until you say I don't know what. You please check whether I am okay or not. Okay. I'll just go on. I will just go on doing this. So we have to do a receivable reconciliation. Now the concept is very simple. When we sell goods, what happens is that debtors arises. So when we sell goods, debtors arises. Debtors account debit to credit sales. So cash sales में debtors नहीं आएगा. So there would not be any cash sales with debtors, but credit sales, after credit sales, there will be debtors. And these debtors would basically are persons who said that I will pay you later. So for example, I have bought something which I am going to sell off in future, and then these debtors they're going to pay up in future. So what happens is that now this happens in various fashion. The previous day I was saying that these people can remain just like that on verbal terms. And they can also give us some bill or check, please. It can be a post-dated check. So for example, a check is given to you, which you can encash after 2 months. This happens. So the debtors, in order to not remain verbal, in order to ensure that it is being done, they have paid, they can give you a post-dated check, they can give you a bill receivable, and an affirmation that I will pay you in 3 months' time. Now, after you receive this bills payable, or you, for that matter, you receive this post-dated check, what you can do is that you can keep it with yourself, or you can endorse it with people. For example, there is a creditor. So creditor है, उसको हमने क्या किया, ये check जो है, इसको दे दिया उसको. That can happen. So anybody who goes to the bank with the check or the bills receivable actually gets it. encashed, get the cash. So for that matter, if I buy something on, if I sell something on credit today, and after 3 months I get the money, these 3 months would be only on the verbal affirmation of the debtor, of the customer. Now during this period, he can give us a post-dated check or a cash or a bills receivable, and the case may be. So these are basically what you call, these are basically kinds of assets, because on the end of third month, I will get back the money. So what happens to this? So basically, if anybody wants to understand, इस time में क्या हुआ हमारा amount को, जो credit sale, I have sold goods worth 50,000. Now after this selling goods of 50,000, ये 50,000 I was to get, इसमें 10,000 का कैश चेक दे दिया, पोस्ट डेटेड चेक. 3 months के बाद I will take this check and go to the bank and get the money. Good. 20,000 rupees का 40,000 rupees का bills दे दिया, बोला ये लो bills, go to the come after 3 months with this bill. Anybody say, you can send anybody and I will give you the money. So what I can do, I can endorse this to a client, to a creditor. A creditor will get some money from me, so I give him this credit. The creditor goes to the person with the bills. So naturally what happens is that during this 50,000 का जो sales हुआ था, उसका एक reconciliation हमें चाहिए. We require a reconciliation of that amount. Let me check out. Okay, I'll just go on continuing, and I don't know what. So this includes a process, and let me check out. So we need to have a reconciliation statement. Ascertain the total credit sales to the customer. So as I said, 50,000 का sale हुआ है. So step 1 में क्या हुआ? We understand कितना का sale हुआ है. We understand कितना का sale हुआ है, 50,000 rupees का sale हुआ है. So we understand there is a total credit sales of 50,000. Then we ascertain total collection. इसमें से collection कितना हुआ? ये हो सकता है कि इसमें से 10,000, 5,000 immediately pay कर दिया हमको, और हमने बोला कि 2,000 का डिस्काउंट है. So 50,000 में से 5,000 immediately घट गया, is reduced immediately, and 2,000 का डिस्काउंट भी मिल गया हमें, and the balance can be received in check. As I said, 20,000 का चेक मिला है, पोस्ट डेटेड चेक मिला है, and balance bills भी मिल सकता है. So step 2 में क्या किया, this 50,000 जो हम which we sold is basically reconciled with the total amount which we are getting in terms of cash, check, or bills receivable, or any other mode. Identify whether there is any bills receivable accepted by the customer or not. So I have to identify, as I have said. So it might be that I have drawn a bills receivable and he have accepted to the tune of 20,000. So इसमें से check return हो सकता है, goods return हो सकता है, bills discounted हो सकता है, dishonored हो सकता है. Excuse me. Yes, tell me. हाँ बोलिए. Okay. Okay. ठीक है. Okay, sir, ठीक है. So it is another of those technological glitches. I'm sorry for this. Don't worry, my students. So this time the error is from the point of view of from their aspect. So the institute has erred with the link. They will clarify the situation, and for those students, I'm telling, if you have any problem, I can come back again and talk to you later, because there were some queries. I have resolved those queries, but you are not there for whom I have done this. And then we have to identify the check return and the goods return and the bill dishonor. For example, ये जो bill हमने issue किया, जो उसने accept किया, so these bills receivable are asset for us. These are not dishonored by them. So when the 3 month came, they actually failed to pay them. So special discount भी हो सकता है, credit no भी हो सकता है, there can be some defects with the goods. So we just try to, we are not going to give much time on this, but so we'll just try to ascertain what happened to that 50,000. So what is basically the process of receivable reconciliation? The process of reconciliation is basically we have sold goods worth 50,000. Uska kya hua? So finding an answer to this question, 50,000 का जो sales हमने किया था, उसका क्या हुआ? What has happened to that? So as simple as that, we try to understand through our reconciliation statement. I have taken a sum. Let us go and check it out. Now, Mr. B sold goods on credit to various customers. 5 lakh का sales किया है उसने. So हमारा data. So what is the journal entry for all the sales taken together? Debtors account debit to sales 5 lakh. Now I want to understand how much. So these are the things that has happened. 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to understand what has happened to that 5 lakh. How much is right? For example, goods returned by customers 30,000 due to defective quality, credit note raised but not recorded. Look, what has happened? I have sold goods to one customer, and he has raised a credit note that sir, आपका जो amount जो you are to get, we will not give you 30,000 क्योंकि इसमें से ये quality defective है. इसमें से ये quality defective है, so we will not give 30,000. हमने record करने भूल गया, so we haven't recorded it. So I am not going to get. Why this is important? Because after understanding point number 2, we understand that 5 lakh which you have sold, we are not going to get for 5 lakh, we are going to get 4,70,000 because that has to be deducted. We are not going to get that amount. Payment received from customer in cash and checks, out of check received checks dishonored by bank. So 30,000 भी नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि वो debtors अभी बोला कि नहीं देंगे हम, we will not pay you. So naturally that 38,000 would have to be again. So this is a customers accepted 2 bills, 90,000, 56,000, 2 months respectively. So these amounts are, you will be getting them. So bills receivable है इसका. These are bills receivable. Check भी dishonored हो सकता है, bill भी dishonored हो सकता है. This 38,000 is a check dishonored. अभी 19,000 and 56,000 है, ये बोल रहा है, this customer telling us that they are going to give us the money, but that will be after 2 months and 3 months. So that has to be adjusted. Credit note raised against the customer 3,400 for excess payment charged against 1,000. So we have charged extra for excess payment. So let us look at the credit sale 5 lakh. So first of all, goods returned by customers, we are not going to get. Payment received किया हमने, we have received 1 lakh. So minus होना ही है ना, because we are not going to get that 5 lakh, 1 lakh. Less payment received by check, less check dishonored. So हमने how much checks received किया 2 lakh 30. We have received checks of 2 lakh 30,000. But out of that 30,000 is dishonored. So actually check in cash is 1 lakh 92,000. So 1 lakh and 1 lakh 92,000 has been received by us. So we are not going to receive this amount in future. So these things are deducted. Bills receivable accepted yet to be matured. So this 90,000 and 53,000 are, you will be getting this money in some time in future, in 2 months time, in 3 months time. So 70,000 is again, you are not going to get the amount. So credit note raise, we have adjusted, we have made excess payment. So that has to be subtracted because you are not going to get the money. So now what we get, we are going to get 1,02,600, which is the net amount receivable from the customers. Now, what is the importance of this? Look, we sold goods to the tune of 5 lakh, but generally speaking, only 1,02,600 are receivable from you after the things which has happened. So basically speaking, this is actually a debtors account. कितना debtors हुआ था 5 lakh. So 5 lakh is a debit item. और ये 30,000 रिटर्न हो गया, क्रेडिट माइनस बाई रिटर्न, गुड्स रिटर्न, पेमेंट्स रिसीव बाई कैश 1 लाख, checks dishonored, checks received by check by bank 1,90,000, by BR 72,000, by credit note raised by adjustment 3,400. So basically speaking, what we are trying to do, well, remember in my previous day class I said that this is a part of our receivable management in financial management. We just try to understand itna sales hua tha, so how much of the amount we are to get back from the customers. So one thing is that this is done with 5 lakh as a gross block. So we have done a gross block of 5 lakh. That means all the data taken together is 5 lakh. But उसमें से we could have done it in an individual creditor data's fashion as well. The reconciliation statement can be made against gross block of customers data. However, it is advisable to ascertain individual reconciliation statement. Here हमने क्या किया, 5 लाख हमारा total sales था, so we did it in a gross block fashion. We could have done it in an individual gross block fashion as well. Same thing, if you have understood my previous point, if you have joined in my lecture, I'm not going to go back. I know I don't feel like seeing that there is nobody in the class. I don't like that. So basically speaking, and I'm not going to go back. So if you have problem regarding the previous regarding the reconciliation statement as regards to receivables, please let me know. And the persons who have understood receivable reconciliation, the same thing is for payable reconciliation. So payable reconciliation is the same issue. A business enterprise, apart from cash purchase, also make credit purchase from vendors. So once you purchase, there is also credit purchase involved. So credit purchase से क्या होता है, creditors arise करता है, और creditors से we can give them a post-dated check. Hey, this is a check, go and encash it, or it can be a check, go and encash it 2 months later. Anything can happen. Or हमने दिया check और desired for when the date came, we couldn't, our balance was insufficient. So very many things can happen. Bills payable, we can issue a bills payable. Sorry, they're going to issue a bills receivable, and we are going to sign this. We are going to accept that. So the acceptor becomes a bills payable. So इसका भी बहुत सारा treatments हो सकता है. So these are to be reconciled. So let us do and go and check a sum. So again, the similar kind of thing, just on the opposite side. So it is basically from the side of we are paying people. So you can identify our slide number 13. It is basically about the steps required in bills payable. Same thing. First of all, we understand the total credit purchases. Then we understand the checks we have paid and the cash we have paid and the discount if this has happened. Identify the bills payable we have accepted. So bills payable we accept. So the issue we accept. So it's basically a liability. You say that we are going to pay in the future. So there can be identified checks returned or debit note raised, etc., etc. So look, same kind of a sum. The Amarnath purchases goods on credit from various suppliers. However, there is a difference of opinion which has arise with one of its suppliers. Supply किया था, अभी बोल रहा है कि अरे भाई हम तो दूसरा. So while supplier claims the amount receivable is 2,50,000. On the other hand, Amarnath, that is us, we are the business of Amarnath, claims नहीं भाई हम तो 2,35,000 देने का है आपको. So we are saying that we will pay 2,35,000, whereas they are saying that they will be getting 2,50,000. So you need to keep a statement where you can show it is very clear. So it is very clear that from which it will be clear that this is exactly this difference of opinion should be clarified. A purchase of 70,000 was recorded by the supplier as 78,000. So we made an error of 7,000. So we made a purchase of 71,000. So the supplier took it as 78,000. So this was an error by the supplier. But we will try to not to rectify this, because we cannot rectify this. This is a supplier ka thing. So we can just point it out. How we point it out? Amount due to supplier 2,53,000. Okay, fine. As per books of the supplier. So they are going by the books of the supplier. So when we are going by the books of the supplier, we'll remember when we talked about cash book se passbook or passbook se cash book. Here also. So are we going from the supplier's book to our book, or our book to supplier? So this is amount due to supplier from the supplier book point of view. So amount due to supplier as per supplier book is 2,50,000. Overstatement of sales, because otherwise we couldn't have adjusted it. So we'll subtract this 7,000. Supplier ने बोला था कि said 78,000 का sales हुआ है. We'll show them the invoice. देखो भाई, this is the invoice. And the actual sales is 71,000, my dear. So 7,000 का error हुआ है. You have to deduct that. Goods returned to supplier. हमने supplier ने हमें goods भेजा था. We have sent them, returned them, but it is not reached the supplier yet. So we have returned them, but it is not reached the supplier. So we have to subtract from the supplier value. Supplier thinks that 5,000 is sold to us, but we have returned them, and it is not being entered by them till date. So we subtract that. Checks issued to, we have issued a check, but it has not received. Look, point number 3. Checks issued to vendor in transit. हमने vendor को check दिया है, लेकिन उसको they haven't yet received it. So ये तो हमारा कोई कसूर नहीं है. This is not a fault of ours. So we subtract that 5,000. So checks 28,000, goods return किया है 5,000 का, checks issue किया है 28,000. और so bills raised for goods purchased from amounting to, but goods are not yet to reach the warehouse, go down. So we have issued goods, we have given them the bills, but goods हमें नहीं मिला अभी तक. So we have to add them, because be careful, my students. Be careful, my students. Look at what it is stated. Bills raised for goods. उसने हमारा ऊपर bill raise कर दिया. So they have raised a bill on us of 22,000. They are saying that I'm going to get this money from you. But हमने तो अभी goods मिला ही नहीं हमको. So we add that. So this is a way we reconcile as per book, as per Amarnath books, हमारा books say what is the amount which is due to the supplier. So this can again said, this can be done as a block, or this can be done as a particular suppliers. If the trouble is with a particular supplier, then we take each of the items at a time, each of the supplier at a time, and we do that in that fashion. Now we come to our today's topic. So naturally, we had to spend some time before we moved on to our topic as on today. Now, first of all, from today onwards, from right now onwards, there would be a little bit trouble. In a sense, what is the issue? So much has changed after 2013 Companies Act came, and this Ind AS has been made mandatory. Many things have changed, and for that matter, your book still says about Accounting Standard 6 and Accounting Standard 10, which have been scrapped, and a new Accounting Standard AS 10 PPE, Property, Plant and Equipment, has come. So that was back in 2007 or 8, something like that. After that, 2013 Companies Act came, and after that Ind AS came. So Ind AS 16 is a new Property, Plant and Equipment. So basically speaking, when we'll be talking about, for example, depreciation, I would request you not to abide by, first of all, and not to abide by AS 6, because there is no AS 6 today. Today there is no Accounting Standard 6. There is no Accounting Standard 10. So today we have a revised Accounting Standard 10. We have Companies Act, but you are doing a junior accountant course. You are not doing your original this cost accountancy. So we will just touch upon those issues of what has happened actually. and we will try to keep it to the bookish kind of thing. So I'll tell you what has happened. So that would be a lecture, so where I have poised the lecture just before I start with financial statements, just before I start with financial accounting, I have poised that lecture over there. So just before entering into final accounts, maybe Friday, I would be talking about what has really happened in the Indian scenario. But right now, teaching depreciation is a little bit difficult because today in 2020, we have to abide by the new understanding of various terms, but your syllabus doesn't comprise of all those issues. So when you I think when you are talking about your MCQ, it would be more on the conceptual understanding rather than on what has really happened in the accounting fraternity. But as you have said, as you know, in various lectures of mine in the previous days as well, I have said is that I will not only confine my lectures on the CAT course alone, though I am talking about the CAT course. So the CAT course will comprise 90% of what I'm going to talk about, the MCQs, how you're going to appear for the examinations. But naturally, I cannot leave aside what is happened to the accounting fraternity. Of course, not in details, just a little bit, just giving you a direction where to go in future. What does Companies Act say about depreciation, definition of depreciation? So don't mention, you might not mention Companies Act, you are not required to mention definition. But this is a definition which is very much important as on today's date. Depreciation is the systematic allocation. So first of all, I'll show you that actually when we learned depreciation, we talked about depreciation from two aspects. But very lately, as I have said, we are trying to become more objective about it. We are not keeping things in a subjective fashion. We want to define it. We are trying to move away from being from an art to a science where everything is defined. So now depreciation is defined as a systematic allocation. So basically speaking, I buy a car for my business use. That car I'm not going to use up in a 1 year. I'm going to use up over its useful life. So depreciation is a systematic allocation. So I'm not going to do it like that, 2 lakh first year, 2 lakh second year, 1 lakh third year. No, I'm not going to do that. On the basis of systematic allocation, maybe on the basis of kilometers run, maybe on the basis of petrol cost incurred. Maybe there are two simple ways of the straight line method. Simply 5 years का use हुआ है asset, so 5 years में depreciate कर दो. Or reducing balance method. There are thousands, there are a number, because there was once question, name 4 depreciation methods, name 5, name 6 depreciation methods. So we'll just cover a little bit of that. So depreciation is a systematic allocation of the depreciable amount of an asset over its useful life. So in this line, there are 3 issues. Systematic allocation. So you cannot allocate it like that. You have to make a systematic allocation. Depreciable amount. So at the amount which is to be depreciated. For example, I have bought a car worth 5 lakh. उसमें हमने एक वो जो साउंड सिस्टम लगाया, 50,000 का साउंड सिस्टम है उसमें. So उसका लाइफ जो है और गाड़ी का लाइफ डिफरेंट है. So depreciable amount कौन है? 5 लाख का कार है या 5,50,000 का कार with the sound system? That is to be known. So for these issues, you have to, in a subsequent time, read through the new Ind AS 16 or the AS 10. I'm not going to just, what is an asset? So depreciable amount तो मिल गया, अभी asset क्या है? So we have to understand what is an asset. So the depreciable amount of an asset is the cost of the asset or the amount. So what is a depreciable asset? The cost of the asset or the amount substituted for cost. Let's its residual value. So abhi dekho. So now the term residual value comes. So what is the residual value? That is a value at the end of the period. After 10 years, I might sell this car for 50,000. So that is the residual value. I cannot depreciate that. That would be the value left out after the useful life. So you have to subtract that. So you cannot depreciate on 5 lakh. You have to subtract 50,000. Then you can depreciate. The useful life of the asset of an asset is the period over which an asset is expected to be available for use by an entity, or the number of production or similar units expected to be obtained from the asset by entity. So useful life is a very important aspect. My car can be with me for 10 years. So for 10 years, I can depreciate the asset. Or my car is 10 years may 1 lakh kilometer it has run. So if I depreciate on the basis of kilometers run, it is a better issue. Why? Because in the year, for example, in a year, I have toured India with my car and I have consumed 60,000 kilometers in 1 year out of the total 1 lakh kilometers run. So 9 years में हमने सिर्फ 40,000 kilometers consume किया है और 1 year में 60,000 kilometers consume किया है. So what you should do? You should you depreciate on the basis of straight line method on the 10 years, or should you depreciate on the basis of number of production or similar units expected to be obtained from an asset? So why do you do reducing balance method? What is the concept of reducing balance method? I'll come later. Just let me tell you right now, because the asset reduces its capacity to give you. For example, this laptop which has bought, it is to be depreciated on the basis of 33 1/3% on reducing balance method. So first year में 33 1/3% दे दिया 66%. तो दूसरी year में जो उसका capacity है that has reduced. It cannot give that kind of a production. So that is why reducing balance method is preferred over cost of. So we could have taken a view, different academic view on depreciation, but we don't have the time to. Rather, we have to understand the operational aspect of depreciation. So that is what is happening in the accounting fraternity these days. We are trying to be objective about its use. So people don't think about depreciation from any other aspect. Let us see. What is a depreciable asset? Asset is so for example, this is a very important definition, and I would request you to be very careful about it, and we will be in near future coming back this. Asset is a resource controlled by the enterprise. For example, first of all, it is a resource controlled by the enterprise. So I control this. For example, I have a phone. Why this is my asset? Because I control this. I can throw it away. I can sell it. So I control this asset. Arising out of past transaction, I have bought it, paying 10,000 rupees, I have bought it. So arising out of past transactions, from which future economic value is expected to be generated. So from which I will get some value in future. If I don't get any value in future, it would not be an asset. It would not be an asset. So for example, I am an asset because I can speak so well. But then if I cannot speak due to some disease, then I do not remain to be an asset. As per AS10, as I said, revised, very important, revised. So your AS6 or your AS10, which is given in your book, is no more. They are dead. We have a revised AS10, and we also have an IND AS16, which are on similar lines. So property, plant, and equipment is considered to be a depreciable asset. So what is a depreciable asset? Property, plant, and equipment. Simple. Property, plant, and equipment. There are number of trouble with this. There are a lot of things to discuss in AS10. As you understand, we could have discussed in CA Inter, CA Final. So we could have gone on and on. But this is a just beginning course. So property, which is your property, which is your plant, which is your equipment, is constituted a depreciable asset. Now, what are depreciable property, plant, and equipment? These two are important issues. Are held for use of production or supply of goods for administrative purpose. So, for example, the air conditioning. Is this for usage of production? No. I know, for example, I'm not using that, so it's not really related to production. So, administrative purpose. For supply of production or supply of goods and services, and expected to be used for more than a period of 12 months. Very important, my dear students. If an asset is used, if it is an item is used to be within a year, then it is not an asset. An asset is something which will give you a value in future. Now, as I was saying that depreciation today is looked into from a cost angle. It's just allocation of cost. Forget about the other issue. Now, depreciation can, when we learn depreciation, there is another aspect of depreciation, which is decline in service potential. Is depreciation a decline in service potential? Yes, of course. Assets are, why do you buy assets? Because they help you in getting some benefits. You buy a car because it will help you in commuting from one point to another. So assets are acquired for deriving benefits in the course of generating income. So it generates income for you. But the capacity of the asset reduces. So the capacity of the asset, as it goes on giving you benefits, decreases. So there is a decline. So depreciation can be looked into from another angle, which was initially the case, because a decline in service potential. For example, a rickshaw puller. He has bought a rickshaw. That rickshaw is going to stay with him for 10 years. Then he has to buy another rickshaw. So for this 10 years, the benefit which is derived, the cash generating possibility of the rickshaw diminishes. So naturally, to capture this into the profit and loss account, you provide depreciation. As simple as that. So depreciation may be defined as a measure of exhaustion of the effective life of an asset from any cause during a period. So we'll come to what are the causes, but basically this is a gradual decrease of the value of the asset for any use. So naturally, the service potential of the asset will go down as you go on using your asset. For example, the fan, इसका जो service देने का क्षमता है, the service which it provides, it reduces as you go on increasing the service of the fan. So what are the reasons of diminution? Why diminution happens? Wear and tear due to its usage. So since you are using it, there is a wear and tear. A flux, if you let the asset remain like that, then also there is a flux of time. As time goes, the value of the asset will go down. For example, if you have bought a laptop and let it like that for 2 years, the value would be, it would not remain as new. For example, a new flat is being sold for a different price than an old flat. A flat which is 10 years old or 20 years old would be sold at a different price, because time has a charge on the asset itself. Obsolescence due to technology or other changes. Think about a phone. A telephone was an asset for 20 years when we bought a telephone in 1976 or 80 or 90 for that matter. So then a telephone was an asset for long number of years. But what happens to a telephone right now? Cell phone right now? It is an asset for 2 years. So obsolescence, and that also might, what happen is that I do have a desktop and a tablet and a laptop, a Dell laptop. Then I bought this laptop only for the purpose of accommodating Team, because Team is a heavy software, Microsoft Team, and those laptop is basically obsolete. Has become obsolete. So there is a tremendous diminution in value of the asset, simply because it cannot cope with the new technology. So obsolescence, decrease in market value. The market value decreases. Depletion many in case of mines. So for example, a mine where from coal or any other minerals is extracted will diminish, will deplete its value. It is important to account for value of proportion of plant and equipment utilized for revenue during an accounting year to ascertain true income. Now, this is a very small 2 lines, but remember what we do in our trading in a profit loss account. We take the income on the one side, we take the expenses on the other side. What we do is that we are matching them. So we are trying to understand what are the expenses which matches our income, and the what remains is matches regarding a time. So in 2019, if the balance sheet, if the profit loss account is for 2019, what we do is that we try to understand what matches 2019 ka expense with the 2019 ka income. So that is why accrual is done. And depreciation, you have used a bit of the asset, so you are trying to account for it. So this is a proportion of cost planned and allocated to the accounting year as regards to depreciation. So depreciation is basically a value of the asset which you have consumed in a particular year. So asset remains in the balance sheet, but it diminishes, it goes down. Why? Because you have consumed a part of the asset in a particular year, and that is depreciation. Factors for depreciation. There are 3 important factors for computing depreciation. So be careful about 3 issues. So first of all, estimated useful life of the asset. So you have to be very particular about the useful life of the asset, at the end of which you are going to sell it at scrap. Cost of the asset. So cost of the asset, remember, wages paid for erection of a machinery is a part of is to be capitalized. So wages will add to the cost of the asset. Wages will add to the cost of the asset. So cost of acquisition of asset is not just like that. Oh, 10,000 mein kharida hai, so 10,000 is the cost. No, there can be other costs also. I have bought a free Frigidaire for 50,000. Is the 50,000 the cost of the asset? No. उसने अभी आप उसके बाद बोला, sir, इसके लिए जो charge that is to be paid because somebody is going to go to your house is a part of the it will make it operative. I have bought an air conditioner. So what? If it is not fitted, it is not. So fitting charges 1,000 rupees. Bakshish, tips 200 rupees. So all these are part of the cost of the asset. And number 3 is the residual value. At the end of the useful life, what I do with the asset, how much I sell it for. So these are the 3 things you have to be very careful about. So when depreciation of an asset begins when it is available for use. So when I'm going to use it, depreciation starts. For example, a laptop comes, I'm not using it because I'm not going to charge it to P&L. For the first year, the asset remains unutilized. हमारे पास तो desktop है, so I'll use it later. So laptop के ऊपर depreciation पहले year में नहीं आएगा. It is not necessary that an asset must be used to be depreciated, but then there are conditions where you can put the asset standby. You have bought a laptop, have bought a new laptop which would be used if my previous laptop fails. That means what? इसके ऊपर depreciation नहीं होगा, जरूर होगा. Value of such wear and tear, but there are some issues when it would be used. Value of such wear and tear should be estimated accounting for the purpose of matching revenue generation. Now remember, again and again I'm saying revenue matching. So you are trying to match the income with the expenses. So you are trying to match the income with the expenses. From the use of asset and the use of asset for the purpose. I'm not really sure about this. This is written in the book. Some error is there, most probably. Please check it out. There is a situation where various depreciations are, because this is captured in accounting standard as well as Companies Act. What is the example? The example I gave you. I have bought a car worth rupees 50,000. After buying the car, they say, sir, आप क्या इस कार के साथ वो जो टेप लेंगे, वो जो साउंड सिस्टम लेंगे 50,000 का? I said yes. So the car cost goes up to 5,50,000. उसके बाद बोला, these are the accessories you can get, floor mat and seat mat and your steering map, and these are the flowers and etc etc. So that cost another 50,000. So my car comes with three issues: the car itself, and 50,000 ka jo the sound system, or 50,000 ka other issues. Now, what this Companies Act and the Accounting Standard is saying is that these are to be, you can do it in a separate way on the component basis. So car is a component, steering wheel ka jo etc hai wo component hai. So it may be noted that Accounting Standard as well as the Companies Act requires, because iska life to different hoga na. For example, my floor mat ka the floor mat which I bought is no more. I have to throw it away and I have used new. So iska life jo hai, estimated life is different from the life of the asset, from the life of the car. So it may be noted that Accounting Standard as well as Companies Act requires depreciation to be charged on a component basis. Each part of an item with a cost that is significant in relation to the cost of the asset should be depreciated separately. Now, why significant it came? Because there may be, sir, ये 100 rupees का एक perfume hai, please pay 100 rupees and take it. So I paid 100 rupees, and so this is not significant. This 100 rupees ka perfume is not significant. So this is not a separate component. You cannot charge depreciation separately on this component. So that is why they are saying that is significant. So it has to be significant. An enterprise should allocate the amount initially recognized in the respect of the item of plant equipment to significant parts and should depreciate each such part separately. Now, why the question of recognition comes? Because if it is recognizable, for example, if I have taken a different version of the same Santro, maybe a luxury version, the sound system came along with it. I didn't have to buy it separately. So I cannot initially recognize that separately. An enterprise should allocate the amount initially recognized. So I cannot recognize that separately. In that case, there is no separate component. So that sound system is a part of the car, because the car is coming at 7,20,000, the luxury version of Santro, and that is being sold with the sound system. So I cannot put depreciation on the sound system separately, because it is not initially recognized separately. So remember that wherever you go today, you cannot escape what is being stated in those accounting standards, because from 2011 onwards, something like that, I don't remember. These have, because you cannot abide by it. And I said, remember the first day I said, there are organizations, various kinds of organizations. One is a company form, so it has to abide by the rules, in the accounting standard, and the accounting standards. Sorry, very sorry. I'm very sorry for this, my dear. I'm very sorry for this. So you have to be very particular as regards to because you have various forms of organizations. The company form, it has to abide by the accounting standard, the accounting standards of the Companies Act. The partnership form, if it wants to get its account audited, which depends on a threshold limit as per section 44AA and AB of the Income Tax Act, then it has to abide by the accounting standards. Very small organizations, like the pawn shop, like the grocery shop, like the small shops which you see everywhere, they may be exempt. They are exempted from abiding by the accounting standard because they do not have to do their accounts audited by the income tax authorities, and they, in spite of that, they can mandatorily they can voluntarily abide by the accounting standards. So if you are talking about depreciation, you have to talk about the AS10 revised, not the AS6 and 10 which is given in your book. And you have to talk about Ind AS 16. So look, for example, the aircraft is a classic example of such an asset. The airframe, the body. I talked about the car, same example. Engines and the interiors have different useful lives. Like the car I talked about. When the car comes with the sound system, which is a part, you cannot initially significantly recognize them separately. So you have to depreciate them totally. This is classic example is aircraft. So be careful about my slide number 21. So it is important to know that property planning to be identified as separate component should have both. So how you you should be clear about. So there was an MCQ which I noted. Maybe from Friday onwards, I will be taking over 10-20 MCQs at the end of the class. Maybe the last half an hour. Maybe the last half an hour I will leave. I will keep on MCQs, since we have done a little bit about. We have almost done 10 accounting classes. So maybe the last half an hour we will be talking about some MCQs. So there was an MCQ as regards to this, and what are the two aspects on which you identify separate component? Number one, significant cost, and different useful life. The floor mat has different useful life, and the car bonnet has different useful life. In case of aircraft, the frame has different useful life, the engine has different useful life. So, and his significant cost. Remember the example I gave you? They have said, "Pay me 100 rupees and you take this beautiful air perfume, which costs 1,000 rupees." So that is a significant. Is it a significant cost to the 5 lakh I am using? No, it is significant. So it is not significant. So when it is not a significant cost, you should not take it as a separate component. A significant part of an item of property, plant and equipment may have a useful life and a depreciation method. Also, the method is important, because what happens is that maybe in our case, if I have a tablet, because in some cars I find, for example, in Uber, and they have a GPS system. Now, the GPS system will have a different depreciation method, because they will depreciate more further. For example, a computer is depreciated at 33 1/3%. So for that matter, conceptually speaking, it is depreciated to nil value within 3 years. So basically speaking, within 3 years, it is depreciated to nil value, which is not the case in case of other issues. For example, when I'm talking about a computer being depreciated at 33 1/3%, I'm not talking about the monitor. I'm not talking about the cabinet. So these are maybe depreciated over 10 years period or 5 years period. So they may be depreciated at a different method. So the depreciation method varies. So in that case, you have to take them at a different components. So you have to group them for that matter. So I'll come at the last of my slide is regarding depreciation in case of income tax. In income tax, what happens is that depreciation is done on block of asset, which is defined as per section 211 of the Income Tax Act, as a group of asset for which the same rate of depreciation is prescribed, which belongs to the same class of asset. So we are not going to go into it. In income tax purpose, the depreciation method is totally different, and there they recognize the reducing balance method. There is a slide on this, and maybe not today, the next day I will come up with this. And so be careful about identifying the components of an asset. And what are the objectives of providing depreciation? Now, basically speaking, think of the rickshaw puller example which I gave right in the beginning. This person in the very difficult times wants to earn some money, so he buys a rickshaw paying 50,000 rupees. So he pays 50,000, or maybe he pays 1 lakh for getting an e-rickshaw, which is which he can drive through a machine. Now this e-rickshaw he learns doesn't go for more than 10 years. He knows that it doesn't go for more than 10 years. By 10, in the 10th year, you have to replace this rickshaw at large. So first of all, knowing this, should he not charge 10,000 from his income every year to get his true earning capacity? If he earns 11,000 in a year, then he should know that 10,000 is not his income, because it is the asset which he has consumed. So therefore, why? Because in 10th year he have to replace this asset. So first of all, correct income measurement. If you don't do this, what will happen? You will erode your capital. You will erode your capital. Erosion हो जाएगा capital से. Because knowing fully well that in the 10th year you will have to buy a new rickshaw. You still are charging 11,000 as your income. So naturally, it is very important to make correct income measurement. Depreciation, charging depreciation is very important for correct income measurement. IDG. So you have to be very careful, and not only that, after the first year, your rickshaw ka value is no more 1 lakh, it is 90,000, because you have to understand that you have consumed 10,000 ka value of the property. So you have consumed 10,000 ka value of the property. So therefore, you cannot take the rickshaw value at 1 lakh into your balance sheet. So 1 and 2 will, this point number 1 and point number 2 are simply speaking taking the profit and loss account at the right figure, taking out the right figure of the profit and loss account, and taking the balance sheet at the right figure. Excuse me, please. Problem? Any problem? Okay. So funds for replacement, as I said, at the end of the 10th year, the rickshaw puller would require a fund of 1 lakh. Now, if he doesn't provide for the fund every year, then you cannot. So what you have to do is that you have to charge that 10,000 from your profit loss account and keep it aside. So whenever you charge 10,000 in your profit loss account, you keep it aside. And therefore, by doing this, you are accumulating the funds which will be required in the future year, in the 10th year. And also ascertainment of true cost of production. So true cost of production is not ascertained if you do not take a charge of 10,000 depreciation, which is consumption of the rickshaw itself, consumption of the asset itself. You are not charging that. This is a very important question which comes frequently when you are trying to understand about depreciation. Basically speaking, is depreciation a source of fund? So if you look at the first, this third point, what I said, by charging depreciation, you will have fund. The rickshaw puller will have fund of 1 lakh at the end of the 10th year. Is it true? No. It is only true if he is clever enough to keep it aside, this 10,000 fund, and he may also invest it at some place to be utilized at the end of the 10th year. If he can do this, then yes, it's a source of fund. So it is basically a non-cash expense. So there is an MCQ on this as well. I came across this MCQ. So it is basically a non-cash expense. It is basically a non-cash expense. That means it is an expense for which cash doesn't go out. It is an arrest of the fund. So profit and loss account is arrested. So it is not like the other normal expenditures like wages, rent, etc., and does not result in outflow. So, for example, when there is a wage, there is an outflow of fund, but in depreciation there is no outflow of fund. It is arrested. So the point: depreciation by itself does not create funds. Depreciation by itself does not create funds. It merely draws attention to the fact that gross revenue receipts, certain amount should be retained. So it arrests that replacement also. It just points every year that 1 lakh will be spent after 10 years. So be careful about that and arrest that 10,000 every year, so that at the end of the 10 years, the rickshaw puller can buy a new rickshaw. So it is not a very so there had been very many academic discussions on this depreciation of fund. As I have said, I cannot. I can just show you a direction. So these PPTs which I have made, which I make every day, is after considering a lot of issues, and I just try to direct you as a student of accounting. So, so it's a bigger picture, and which of course covers your CATs. So I'm not showing you anything which is not covered in your CAT. I'm just giving you a bigger picture which will help you to for your various aspects as regards to, on which you can build up, your various aspects. In spite of various arguments to treat depreciation as a fund, it cannot be absolutely termed as a source of fund. So there are various arguments in favor of that. So I'm not gone into that, but it cannot be termed as such. Rather, I would call it arrest of fund. That is, fund is arrested. Is depreciation a charge against profit? Again, this is a very important question. There can, or an appropriation of profit. Though there are two methods, today itself I'll show you that there are two methods, basically speaking. One is called the charging method and the other is called the accumulated depreciation method. Thank you. So one is called the charging method and the other is called the appropriation method, or accumulated method. But still there is a controversy whether it is a charge against profit or application of profit. So what is a charge against profit? Means you spend some money. For example, a wage is a charge against a profit, whereas appropriation of profit is a voluntary kind of thing. We appropriate profits. So again, not going into what is written or what is stated by various literary persons, various important persons, I'll just give you my views. I do feel that it is not an appropriation. It is in between, you know. It is really not a charge against profit because there is no cash expenditure. It is a kind of it's a different kind. It's a different item for altogether, and it is not voluntary as well. It is not a voluntary. Yes, of course. Should I charge SLM or should I charge reducing balance method? So that there are ways where we can there is a wish. There's a question of our voluntary understanding of the fact. So a firm reduces its profit by charging depreciation and creates a fund for replacement of its asset. So when it creates, it should create a fund for replacement of the asset, because this rickshaw wala would be requiring to get a new rickshaw in 10-year time. Remember, such retained profit may be invested in external security or elsewhere. So you can just put in your money in your place, or you can put in your money at a different place, which is often called the sinking fund method. Gradually, a large amount is accumulated, which is used for replacement of the exhausted fixed asset. So the rickshaw is gone down, and you want to buy a new asset. Hence, it's the reserve created by appropriating profit. So conceptually speaking, this is an appropriation of profit. It's a reserve created, which strengthens the financial position of the concern and keeps the capital intact. But then it is not actually an appropriation of profit, because it is not a voluntary, it is not a mandatory. It is rather. It depends on you. How much of depreciation you're going to charge is your issue. Though depreciation is also provided to create a fund to support the replacement of it, still is a production cost and is charged to the profit cost. So as I said, look, the first paragraph and the second paragraph, there's a contradiction between the two. So from one angle, we are saying it's an appropriation of profit, because we are appropriating the profit, we are making a fund which is to be utilized in future. But on the other hand, we're charging it to the performance account, because the profit, as I said, in 1 year he has earned 11,000 in total. But is the 11,000 his profit? No. How much is his profit? Only 1,000, because 10,000 is charged on the asset. But it is COVID times. Everything is locked down. The prices have soared. So, अरे भाई 10 बजे after 10 year क्या होगा देखा जाएगा. अभी तो हम use कर लेते हैं. So for this year, what I do is that I charge depreciation at 5,000, and I take 6,000. So there is an option, and what I have to do, if it is a question of bigger issue, if it's a question of your annual reports, I have to just mention that there is a change of profit. Of course, that is not so simple, but I can do. There are provisions of doing this. So basically speaking, it is again charge of profit. Neither it's a completely we call it a charge, neither we completed appropriation of profit. So it is in between, So it is basically what you say, individual, a particular separate kind of a thing, which is profit depreciation. Factors in measuring depreciation, I have already talked about this, the cost of the asset, the estimated life of the asset, and the scrap value. So this is a repetition of our previous slide. Causes of depreciation. Now, this is a slide which is given in your book, so I love the slide and I have just copied it from there. So basically speaking, there are two causes. One is the internal cause and the other is the external cause. Of course, two other issues have been added to this, the time element and the abnormal occurrence. For example, a COVID time is an abnormal occurrence. Okay, so some abnormal things happen. So for example, I drop my phone and therefore the phone cracks from side to side. So the mirror cracked from side to side. So naturally I have to, I don't know. So there is a tremendous question of charge to happen to the proper sponsor. So this is a question of your abnormal occurrence. Of course, as I said, time is also an element, because if you buy a laptop and let it remain in your carry bag for 5 years, then there is a question of depreciation. After 5 years, you find that there is nobody using the softwares you are using, and it is almost a redundant thing. Because I remember just maybe a few years back, a 256 RAM, 256 MB RAM was a huge thing. But today, this laptop which I'm talking on is 8 GB RAM. So things are really changing, and therefore either time is an element which causes huge depreciation. And what are the usual way of things? There is the internal cause, which is wear and tear and depletion. So if you just there are some slides on each of them, so I might just avoid those slides. I not avoid. I just skip those slides because this is all about wear and tear. So you are using it. The more you use it, the more you are going to wear. There will be depreciation, and of course there is a depletion of the. So depletion is from the point of view of the service potential. So if you use the asset more and more, it will deplete. So remember that whatever asset you are using, there's a charge, there is a cost to the asset which we often forget. If things, for example, when I bought this asset, if I knew that within 3 years I have to buy the asset, I could have easily saved 3,333 each year, and by the end of the third year I would have generated 10,000, which would have helped me get a new phone. There are external causes. So obsolescence, as I said, that my Dell Inspiron was running wonderfully, and then suddenly these administrators of this course, they said that they are going to take this session in team platform. And the time I started, maybe the first 2 days I was doing this in this old, it's gone wrong. So obsolescence is one other, and inadequate. So often as the technology develops, the old technology becomes inadequate to cover the new one. So these are, again, this is also a page from the book, which is defining all the items as one by one. So I'm not going to go into this individual items. So be careful about this page, what are the causes of depreciation. Because as I said, in your CAT course, you will not be given a depreciation ka sum. You do a sum and you go on doing this. So you have to make an idea about an understanding of the sum. What are the causes? So maybe 4 causes are given, and one of the causes is not really a cause. So you have to identify the cause. So as such, doing this CAT course, and of course the whole study is also changing its shape. This way of learning is an important issue. Here we do not use that standard type of accounting learning we do. We take our books with even the students buy a Boshudash problem solution book. So there is only problems and answers at the back of it. So it is not done that way, my dear students. It is basically understanding of this theoretical issues which makes things clear for you. So why illustration is given? An illustration is given for understanding purpose. So if you look at a foreign authored book, any foreign authored book, Bartley Boy was a very famous book on accounting. Spison and Pegler was a very famous book on accounting. There are thousands. For example, Belvoir Needles has written a wonderful book on. So what this book says is that does they talk about depreciation just like, so you will find maybe 30, 40 pages of 20 pages of understanding about depreciation. And then what you will do is that they will give you a case study, original situation which has happened in a organization, and they will ask you to answer some questions on that. So this is a way you can really apply yourself, which is required for your employability. So when you are giving an interview or in a very future term, you would not be required to solve a standard costing ka sum. So even in a workplace, you're not going to be solving a sum. You're going to utilize those ideas which have been created in you. So let us move forward and let us not talk. And so what are the methods of depreciation? Basically speaking, there are lots of methods of depreciation. So when we studied depreciation, we had to talk about the various methods. ये method है, वो method है, उसका advantage, इसका advantage. What you do about that method, what you do about this method. But basically speaking, those methods are only academic purpose. Basically speaking, we talk about 2 methods. One is a straight line method. Straight line method is, for example, I bought this phone for 10,000 and I'm going to use this for 10 years. then 1000 is the amount of depreciation. So basically, it is a straight line basis. So the amount of depreciation remains the same for the whole life. So it remains the same for the whole life. So this is straight line method of depreciation. And the other is a reducing balance method of depreciation. People say WDV. No, it is reducing balance method, because in straight line also you have a WDV. WDV is written down value. So from the first year, when you buy the asset, the cost of acquisition of this phone is 10,000. In the second year, after you have charged 1,000 as depreciation, इसका WDV written down value हो गया 9,000. So even in SLM, you have a WDV. But in reducing balance method, what happens? The balance reduces. For example, इसमें percentage देना होगा. I'll show you. I'll let you know of the formula. There are formulas. So इसमें, for example, 10%. So पहले first year, what is the depreciation? 1,000. So there is no difference in the methods. Second year का WDV क्या हो गया? The WDV is 9,000. उसके ऊपर 10%. So it reduces. What reduces? The amount of depreciation reduces. So the next year it is 900 rupees. 900 घट गया 9,000 से 8,100 हो गया. उसके ऊपर 10% हो गया is 810 rupees. So the value of depreciation reduces like that. SLM depreciation stays like that. It's a common thing, but WDV it reduces like that. Why we do this? Because we are looking at the behavior of the asset. Because we are looking at the behavior of the asset. Very important. This term. Look at the computer. We know that as things are going, within 3 years, so much change it will happen. It will be used, but so much change it will happen. इसका value नहीं रहेगा. So we charge depreciation on 3 years time on a reducing balance method. So the behavior of the asset is what that connotes the method you are going to use, the formula you are going to use. Generally, methods of providing depreciation are based on formula developed on a study of the behavior of the asset. Forget about this line, because you would be given in situation, for example, Company Act refers reducing balance method. Income tax rule refers a different kind of a situation, but still it talks about the diminishing balance method. So you don't have to be particular about the methods of depreciation, except for the fact that there can be a question: what are the name 4 methods of depreciation? In that case, you will write 2 methods. हो गया SLM और WDV तो reducing balance method तो हो गया. इसके against भी बहुत सारा है. There are a lot of them, like sum of the year digit method, annuity method, and so on and so forth. Well, these are 3 slides. Good that this has come by 12:32, because these are 3 slides which I have put in by me. Look, when we buy an asset, so if you look at the machinery account, how it would be like. So when we buy an asset, we write to bank account. So the journal entry is machinery account debit. You know this. I know. I understand. But as you also understand that this is a online situation, and I don't know who you are. You know who I am because I'm talking non-stop, but I don't know who you are. I just recognize you on the basis of the questions you put forward, the little bit of questions you put forward. So there are some students, one said that I'm new to this course, so naturally I will go in my fashion. Sorry for this. So machinery account, when we buy the machinery account debit to bank account, and when we buy it on credit, we say machinery account debit to vendor account. And when we sell the machine, so on which date we buy the machine, and we will make this entry, date of acquisition. on which date we do. So if we take it as a calendar year, it can be on the first date, it can be on the third date, it can be on the fifth date, it can be on the sixth date, it can be on the half year, and so on and so forth. Any day we can buy the machine. Year end day, at the year end, we say buy depreciation. So our journal entry is depreciation account debit to machinery account. Our journal entry is depreciation account debit to machinery account. Now remember that this would be on the basis of the number of year you have used it. For example, if you have bought the machine in July 1st, then actually you are using it for 6 months. So your depreciation you will calculate is for 6 months. This is a very usual concept. Students make an error to this because I don't know why. There can be complicated situations. You can buy 5 machines during the year, but the period for which you use the machine is a period for which you will depreciate the machine. But remember that using is not putting it to use is different from what the concept of using we use. Because for us using is when we have a sip of this tea, I am using tea. But the tea that is being served here is also using it in accounting term. So depreciation shall be for the period of actual use, no, for the period of use as per accounting term, for the period of use when it is ready to use. Let us not go into this controversy because this is an income tax issue. And of course, by bank or by vendor, date of sale. Why by vendor? Because there is a credit sale, there can be a credit sale as well. So depreciation is to be calculated proportionately. Be very careful about the term proportionately. That is proportionate to the time of usage. Proportionate to the time of usage. Be very careful about the term. Very sorry. And profit and loss on sale to be calculated and recorded as sale price minus WDV of the asset. So the sale price, and for example, you have bought the asset and you have depreciated the asset as on the last date, and on the last date you are selling the asset. So pura year ka depreciation is you have to charge. So you charge depreciation for the full year. Asset ko you take it to the reducing balance as on the last date, and then you subtract from sale price to get the profit or loss. Or profit or loss ko kaise I will enter by profit loss account for loss of sense. So basically entry is profit account debit to machinery account, so it is a loss. And by profit to profit loss, so machinery account debit to profit account. In profit loss account we write by profit and sale. That is we write for profit on sale, and how the profit on sale is got, sale price minus WDV. So basically depreciation account debit to asset account when we depreciate the asset. Profit loss account to depreciation, depreciation being debited to profit loss account. So you charge depreciation for the asset. So you write, so you charge depreciation against the asset reduces, the depreciation happens, and then the depreciation is taken to the profit loss account. So profit loss account debit to depreciation account in profit loss account. That is why we write to depreciation. So if you took a journal entry, depreciation account mein kya aayega, to asset account by balance current down. So every year, so the debit side would be heavier, and you write by balance current down, and that is you're balancing the asset in that fashion. And in profit loss account, what you write is to depreciation. So that is what we have been doing in your final accounts. That is what you have been doing. Now, depreciation is basically either a charging method, I have said already, or a provision method, which is an accumulated depreciation. In charging method, the whole issue ends there. So depreciation as a charge against property is profit loss account to depreciation account. That is what we have said. So in profit loss account, we charge depreciation, we just debit depreciation, we just say to depreciation and forget, the matter ends there. But no fund is created. Conceptually speaking, we don't create any reserve, we just arrest the profit, and that profit arrested, because if you are if your profit is 1000, remember the rickshaw puller ka jo example we have taken, and it is not 11,000 because 10,000 ka depreciation we charge and we arrested the profit of 10,000. 11,000 say 10,000 arrest kar liya, so 1,000 you can use, you cannot use 11,000. So basically there ends the matter. 10,000 arrest kar liya, the abhi your depreciation asset is reduced because you have passed the depreciation account debit to asset account. But in provision, therefore, there is a question of provision or accumulated depreciation. What you do is that you accumulated depreciation and let the asset remain at 10 lakh, 1 lakh, the rickshaw puller. So what you do is that profit loss account debit to provision for depreciation. So you just arrest the thing at 50,000. And the second reason, as I said, you can put the money outside also. So you can put the money in outside also. And so in that fashion, what you do is that investment account debit to bank. That means the 50,000 ka jo investment humne kiya hai, that we invest at some cases. Why? Because if we go on doing this for the life of the asset, then we would have our investment would gather up, and we can sell the investment and get the money from there. So how the balance sheet would look like if we have done an investment of 50,000, or if you hadn't done it, so the debits asset side say investment ghut jayega. So how would it look like? Provision for depreciation 50,000, or asset kitna amount mein, how much of asset. So depreciation to asset we don't do. Because of that, there should have been a cut mark because I had just made a circle of it. So that amount that we don't do. So what will happen is that your asset account will remain at its original cost. So year 2 में अभी एक ही चीज हुआ, profit loss account debit to provision for depreciation. The same thing happened again. लेकिन provision for depreciation अभी क्या है, पिछले in the previous year it was 50,000, now it has become 1 lakh, and your investment is 1 lakh because it's gone up because another investment is being made, which is an optional. You can do it or you cannot do it. But forget about the investment portion. What you do is that you provide depreciation. So what happens is that your provision for depreciation or your accumulated depreciation goes on increasing, and your asset remains at the original cost. So your asset remains at the original cost, and your provision for depreciation just goes on increasing. So there are, I would not be very careful about these issues. These are taken from your book, so you can refer to this book. Number one method, which so is the fixed or method or the straight line method. So what you do is that cost of the asset minus scrap value or residual value divided by the estimated life of the years. So the formula wise, this is the amount of depreciation. So it's very important to understand what happens. The cost of the asset हुआ 1 lakh, जो रिक्शा पुलर ने 1 लाख का asset खरीदा था, रिक्शा खरीदा था, minus the after 10 years he will sell the asset for 10,000. So 10,000 घट गया. So 1 lakh से 10,000 घट गया. That is why cost of the asset minus residual value of the asset divided by estimated life of the asset. Life of the asset कितना हुआ? For 10 years. So the depreciation amount is cost of the asset minus residual value minus estimated life of the asset. But in residual diminishing balance method, we generally don't use this formula, but this is available. We can do this. This is nth root of 1 minus nth root of residual value by the cost of the asset. Very interesting situation. If plant costs 16,000 and an estimated life salvage value of 2,000 at the end of the third year, so n is 3, computer rate of depreciation. So rate कितना हुआ? In most cases the rate would be given, but since it's an MCQ type questions for you, it might not be given for you, and you might have to. There can be a situation दे दिया, उसके बाद तीनों. It's a simple thing, simple calculation. So 1 minus nth root, third root of 2,000 minus divided by 16,000. 2,000 by 16,000, third root, 1 minus that. So you use your scientific calculator. Why we do per 100 in multiplied by 100? Because we want to know the percentage term. So it is basically speaking 1 minus nth root of salvage value by cost of the asset. So this is about the situation. How you calculate the percentage, because you require a percentage. In most cases, the percentage would be given. So in the first year, for example, if 50% is given, so in the first year, 60,000 go per 50% means 8,000 is the depreciation. What is the reducing balance? 8,000 is represented. Then the rate of depreciation is 50% of what reducing balance of 8,000 is 4,000. So 4,000 is a depreciation. Uske baad 50%, it's 2,000. So 4,000 ke upar 2,000 ho gaya. So salvage kitna hua? 2,000. So you can check out as well. It's a very interesting situation. We can check out our formula as well. So this I have said, because there was a, I felt that this should be said because this is a very important. This is a very important slide, which says that your depreciation is basically of two types. It can be when you maintain your provision account. In that case, you charge depreciation to your profit loss account. So profit loss account debit to depreciation, and you do not reduce your value of asset. The value of asset remains the same, and therefore, in the balance sheet, you will have a provision for depreciation or an accumulated depreciation in the liability side, and you will have an asset account in the asset side, which will be shown in the cost. In case of this method, the amount of depreciation is charged in a particular year is debited to profit loss account, depreciation account, and credited to provision for depreciation account. As I said, the asset account appears in the books of original cost. So when there is a, this slide is very important. This will come to good usage in your fund cash flow statement as well. So when you are selling the asset, you need to understand the total idea about what happens. In case of provision for depreciation non-maintained, then as depreciation account debit to asset account, so asset gets reduced. The depreciation is transferred to the profit loss account. So maybe later, surely later, while doing cash flow set fund flow, I will again come with this issue. So 38 is slide number 38 is total issue of what happens when you maintain your provision for depreciation account and when you do not maintain your provision for depreciation account. This is also given in your study material, so I'll not spare much time on this because I have my points to highlight. Maybe the next day I will again say a little bit about these issues, and then I will go on to the new topic. So the asset can be sold, will be sold, so there will be an asset depreciation. This is a very comprehensive kind of a material. So my slide number 38 and 39 are very comprehensive as regards to the various issues of asset disposal and etc. etc. So I have taken an example. Maybe today I will not go into that. So this is basically calculate the rate of depreciation under SLM method in each of the following cases. So a cost of the machine is given, expenses incurred at the time of purchase is given, so you add that. And estimated residual value is given. So the first point is you add that, subtract the residual value divided by number of years. So 90,000 plus 10,000 is 1 lakh minus 20,000 is 80,000 divided by 8 is 10,000. So the rate of depreciation is 10%. So it is very simple, though it looks very cumbersome, but it's a very simple solution where you just add the expenses. Remember, I said that need these to be capitalized. So cost of the machine, add the expenses, subtract the residual value, divided by expected life of the asset. So you get the depreciation amount, which is expressed as a percentage of the expected life. Sorry, depreciation is D minus E is equal to by F. Okay, fine. That's the amount, and G by D. So that is the total cost of the asset. So the percentage which you get is surely as a total cost of the asset. So the cost of the asset is basically cost of the machine added with the expenses. Maybe I would come up with these 3 or 4 slides the next day also, because I'm not very sure whether you were there with me. Let me check out whether you are, because I might have to come back the previous day with some of the issues. Oh well, there are 5 attendants. Okay, fine. Let me check out with the questions you have. Good morning, sir. Sorry for that link was not shown in the web portal. Okay, fine, no problem. Just let me know what actual link. I received the link at 8:40. I'm very sorry. Don't worry. So there wasn't student because we didn't have the link. Okay, fine. Don't worry. I'm going to. Can you please receivable reconciliation Grewal's method? No. Hello, my dear. This receivable reconciliation and payable reconciliation are really not very, because I said that these are actually easily got from the debtors account and the payable account and the creditors account. So naturally, Grewal didn't, in Grewal's book, BRS is all that is talked about. Bank reconciliation statement is all that is talked about in accountancy. So what is the actual amount? So this discrepancy, it is just a discrepancy which happens between the debtor and us. So there was a problem with, well, yes, what is amortization, depreciation? Okay, fine. I will take a note, and I found out there were no slides on, because today what happened was that since there were 0 students right from the beginning, so naturally I didn't feel like being very cautious about the whole talk. So maybe the next day I will just say a little bit about 2 or 3 slides, and of course this is a slide I missed out. So amortization and depreciation and obsolescence, don't worry, I will come up the next day. Please be with me, Rahul, and I will surely come up the next day and be careful about your point. Sir, receivable reconciliation. So there is no, I wouldn't differentiate between the way, I wouldn't go beyond what is being done in your book. So just refer to your book. This is not very important. You can just do your debtors account and you can understand what your actual debtors is and what it is showed. So it is basically a issue of financial management, but still, since it is given, I just thought of pointing it out. Published. As I said, amortization, depreciation, I will come up the next day. Depreciation theory is clear. Okay, fine. Thank you very much, Anonymous. Okay. Would you like to do any further questions on, because I would not like to, because I never knew that there were some people have come into this course, so come into my talk today. Today is another of those technological glitches I have been talking every day. I've been talking about this, and when I started the today's talk, I took a little bit of time because I understood that I have taken this kind of webinars when a little bit. I have been doing this in 2017 as well with the executive diploma program, engineering diploma program. So I know exactly how to go on speaking with not knowing who is there at the end of this course. But still, there are students who makes me feel good, and I will just try to give you not much of theory, those causes of depreciation, what is depreciation, what are those, forget about this. So I will come up with some of the slides and maybe the next day before going, because Friday is important issue, because I have already thought of talking a little bit about tally. So because I know that this is not covered in your syllabus, or maybe it is covered by somebody else. So and I'm also no expert with tally. But this I told about three methods of cost about accounting, three systems of accounting. One is the journal ledger trial balance, what we learned in the initial years, and then we talk about journal transactions, subsidiary accounts, and trial balance and finalizations. Okay, fine. And there is a third system which is a customized package or software. So I just feel that you to have a total idea about how accounting. I'll show you how easy it has become, it's just a question of interpretation. So this tally educational version is really downloadable. I'll tell you what are the problems of the educational version. And so what I'll do is that I'll pick up some slides from today's material, and I'll add in this tally ka jo thing I thought of doing. So Friday, be careful. I will also message Pradeep ji regarding your link on Friday for Friday, and so be careful about Friday. And as I said, there would be a very interesting class on before I enter, because I don't know whether you were there when I was talking regarding a very important issue when I started depreciation. Now you are to do depreciation. Explain depletion causes. I'll do it by the next day. I'll surely do it. Depletion. As I said, there would be a chart completing what is obsolescence, what is depletion, what is. I'll show you. Don't worry, my dear. Just be with me the next day. I'll show you. Now, this is a very important issue. I don't know whether you were there when I was talking about this. Now, when we talk about depreciation, we are not talking about depreciation from a very just like academic point of view. We are talking about depreciation, what HDFC does in its financial statements. So naturally, we cannot talk about depreciation without talking about AS6, which is given in your book. AS6 is gone. AS10 is gone. So now, three issues you have to talk about. AS10 revised, property, plant and equipment. In AS16, of course, you don't have to know that. And of course, Companies Act 13. So I started my understanding about depreciation with the definition that was given in Companies Act 2013. Now the question can I come, is this covered in CAT? No. In CAT, AS6 and AS10 is still there. Forget about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I cannot talk about it. It will not come out of me, because things have changed. You have to understand AS10, the revised AS10, property, plant and equipment. You have to understand that. So we need to understand the current scenario, where we in 2020, where we are, and what for the CAT course we need to know about your accounting. Because in CAT course, we cannot be talking about the Ind AS, we cannot be talking about the Companies Act 2013, but still we need to clear the ideas. So just for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I need to talk about how it is there. And these are linked to the fact that you have your various kinds of organizations, you remember. So there are, for example, a very small dukan, shop downstairs who doesn't abide by accounting standards. There is a partnership firm, 3 or 4 people coming together and doing accounting, so doing business. So naturally they have to talk about a little bit of accounting. They have to do accounting, so they don't have to follow accounting standards. But the moment you have to audit your accounts as per section 44AA of the Income Tax Act, naturally you have to abide by, your account shall have to abide by the accounting standards. And if your turnover is more than a threshold limit, I'll come. So maybe on Monday, I'll start with that. I'll start with where we are in CAT course, what we are doing. And as you remember, as I have again and again pointed out, it is not only about your CAT course we are talking about your total understanding of the subject. But of course, your CAT course and your MCQ shall be a part of our class. So we have to focus on the MCQs, but with a broader understanding of the subject. And I have given you one assignment. another assignment is ready with me. Maybe as I do on Friday, I will discuss 20 MCQs, and on Friday I will upload those MCQs so you can try out. You can please explain depletion, causes of depreciation once again. Surely, I'll do it. Depletion is used. No, not today. Next day, be with me, and I will because I said that there would be a slide covering depletion, obsolescence, amortization, etc., etc. Any question you want to ask? Any question you want to ask, or otherwise I will end my session today. Any question you want to ask? So when did you enter? What I was doing? Did I start depreciation when you entered my room? Did you start with my depreciation? The previous day I was talking about. In the start, I was talking about the previous day class. I did the this amendment in my style, in the Grewal style. Were there in the class? Okay, Mona. So thank you very much, and I will end my session today. And I will come back on Friday with a little bit of different issues, which will be very helpful for you. I'm very sure about that. Thank you very much.